Okay, hi, my name's Carson Frey. I'm the host of The Real Houseguest of North Hollywood. I'm here with Rob, the host of Vanderpump Robs. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm having a terrific year. It's been great. Not really, but I'm doing good today. I'm thrilled to be on the podcast. You've come on my podcast. This is, Bravo podcasters helping Bravo podcasters with content. That's what
it's a community.
We need
it really is.
And you know what? You can slip into some weird Bravo corners. And I think we're lucky enough to be in some of the safe spots, I think.
I agree completely. What all are you recapping right now?
Right now on Patreon, we are doing season 8 of Vanderpump Rules. Because I feel like it pairs well with season 2 of The Valley. That was one of the times I rolled the dice and I was like, okay, it worked. And then on the public feed, we are covering Summer House and The Valley. And then, once Summer House ends here in a couple of weeks, I maybe it'll just be The Valley. Maybe I'll give myself a break and just do one show at a time.
I mean, The Valley's a lot in and on its own. I feel like keeping up with The Valley, like I'm watching the after show right now and the after show's about 40 minutes. So I feel like we're getting 2 shows in one with it.
Yeah, I actually am. I'm glad we're going to be talking about the after show because I specifically don't cover the after show on my podcast because I feel like it's a bit of Bravo hedging their bets. Oh, you didn't like this episode? Well, we'll give you another 40 minutes where it's maybe we can save face a little bit. And it does have some good tidbits, but it also negates the storytelling of the show that everyone signed off on, right? Oh, well, see, we said that, but what actually happened was this. And it's well, choose a lane. But, it's still entertaining. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, and I think with the Valley, too, it's it feels like a whole nother season happened in between them filming and where they are now. And they're all playing catch up. And the Summer House after show just disappeared after a couple episodes.
I have my theory there. I think that this season of Summer House has been incredibly boring. And I think they went to film the after show and there's we got nothing to talk about because there's not a whole lot going on. Look, I love Summer House. I enjoy it. I see people sometimes online, they'll be wow, there's so many haters in the Bravo community. Why can't you just enjoy the show or whatever? I was no, I still enjoy it because I know I'm a big fat hater in a lot of this, but I still enjoy it. That's what it's giving me, right? It's giving me this hater energy from time to time, but it also is what are you doing, folks? What are we doing? What are we doing on these shows? Like I just said, the after show went away because there was nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I agree. And if the central storyline this season is Paige and Craig's breakup, it doesn't really, I feel like that's the only major storyline you have.
It wasn't, right? It was.
It's not been an ongoing thing at all.
It was sold to us as that was going to be it. And we had Southern Charm with Paige on it. The Paige and Craig dynamic on Southern Charm was more present than the Paige and Craig dynamic on Summer House. And quite frankly, I think Craig really sucks. And I have always liked Paige to an extent. Everyone's got there's a bar chart or something where everyone, maybe some seasons they're a little higher than others. But the stress that this relationship and this breakup has caused on Paige is me being Paige, you got to get out of there. you're not being the best version of yourself, and you need to just cauterize the wound and get it done. And so we're left with Lexi and Jesse. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Lexi at least knows how to be on TV.
And
I'll
so
say that.
she does. But, as Bravo viewers, we don't tune in for the newbies. We tune in for the people we've been watching grow and learn. And I think that's always going to triumph the season.
Far be it from me to go against the host of this podcast.
No, go ahead.
I will
challenge me.
You perfectly. I totally understand what you're saying there, but in a show especially like Summer House, I want to know as much about the new people as possible, because it's so rare that anyone actually stays on this show. And so
Summer House is a beast because with the newbies. It is a beast. I give it that, because now I'm thinking about Emerald, and I hate his edit.
Terrible.
I hate his edit so much.
It's I actually just spoke with, on one of my recent episodes, Josh Laura from Tell the Bees came on, and he spoke with Kate and I about how the only thing he'll say it better than I, so look up his content. But, the problem with Emerald's edit is that he also obscures the camera all the time. So and I get why, don't get me wrong, but there is this sort of he's also not giving us what the agreement to going on shows are as well. Now, I totally get it.
Especially a show like Summer House.
But I do think they have only edited him to be the horny dude, right? And I think it's quite fine to have a share house be a single person who's very sex positive and want to party with other consenting adults. And it's wild that even this is when we go back to the Paige thing, that she even told him he needed to get an STD test, and that he got shamed for doing this. And then people came in my comments. This is the third time I've said this, so sorry listeners who have heard my podcast, but I was so surprised people came into my comments being well, you don't understand what's actually going on. See, what's actually going on is he's bringing strangers into this house full of cameras and production people, and that can be dangerous. I was well, that should have been what the conversation was, but that wasn't the conversation. The conversation was, you fuck too much and you need an STD test. And that was... It was shaming.
It was complete shaming, because if I were Paige, I would also be annoyed in that situation, because she's anxious. She can't sleep. I would say, I couldn't sleep because I could hear you banging all night. Be quiet.
Also, I moved to the room that someone who wasn't in the house that night was at, and it shared a wall with you. That was my bad, right? But also it's all these convoluted things, and it's just Summer House. Don't end up like season 11 Vanderpump Rules, please. Let's do better. Same with Southern Charm.
Tom warned them this week. He warned them. He said it. But let's just jump into the Valley, because my God, so much is happening there. It's just so exciting and overwhelming at the same time. So the episode really opened with everyone kind of recollecting. Jack's going to rehab, and Jason's the one who drove him to rehab, and kind of passes on Jack's not separating the whole Julius thing and everything he's ever done. Which, what are your thoughts on that? How fixated Jax is on the whole Julius of it all. Is it deflection?
I mean, I remember when I had a really bad breakup when I was 22 years old, and was not able to be honest with myself and would project all of these things. Jax is 45 years old, and what happened is his ego got bruised. Do as I say, not as I do. And he's around a bunch of men, for the most part, let's say, who I wouldn't say they're like the most mature people on earth, but they at least know how to navigate a breakup. Look, Jesse Lally is a whole different can of worms, but he knows what he's doing in navigating that breakup. Jax is like drowning. He doesn't know how to handle someone bruising his ego. And I think the deflection is clear because he couldn't say, man, it really sucks that Brittany hooked up with someone who is my friend. And instead of being like that, he says, well, Brittany, she's bad too. She's bad too. And like, and it's all on me. And it's so annoying.
It's very similar to last season when he didn't want everyone to find out he was an addict. So he's going to portray Brittany to be this alcoholic and addict. And, but yeah, Michelle and Janet support Brittany and they encourage her to file for divorce, which I am with her on that. Cause just every time I've seen Jax with Cruz this season, I'm like, Brittany, get that custody.
Yeah, and I mean, we know because they leak so much stuff from this show on their own socials that
they're the worst. Brittany, the Valley is the worst about it.
She files the day he gets out of his spa that he's going to. I don't even want to call it rehab. And I think
it's not a rehab.
And he gets out early too, right? So like, I think if I'm putting these pieces together on my like conspiracy map behind me, Jax doesn't want to stay the whole time. Brittany's like, sure, okay, you don't want to stay the whole time. You broke the deal. You're getting served papers. I'm getting custody. See you in hell, loser. All of that to be said though is that like, I want Brittany to stop playing the Jax game. You know?
Agreed.
I think Brittany has done some pretty atrocious things in the past, like the Sandy Hook denial tweets and just some other mean things. I don't think these decisions define someone as a human being, right? Like no human being is all good or all bad. And I think this conversation can come up later when we talk about Danny Bucco as well. But when you do something fucked up, you need to own it. And I think Brittany is Jax is too. Don't get me wrong. This is not they're both bad. I'm not both siding this sort of thing. I just think Brittany would look even better on the show if she didn't play Jax's game at all. Like if she could grow and move on but she's letting him get to him, and that fair. I get it. It's tough in those situations.
I think that's the same with both her and Michelle.
Yes.
Like I'm screaming at my TV, like, don't give into it. Don't give into it. Like, yes, Jesse and Jax are poking the bear and doing everything, but they're the narcissist. So the narcissist is always going to do that. And then Kristen Doty goes over to Jesse's for tea. Like well, I understand her strategy. I understand her idea. She doesn't want to be, what happened last season. So I guess Jesse Lally is like a good place to pick
and Janet's not even meeting Kristen in the middle. And I know you like Janet. I don't, but I also like, I think it's layered because Janet's still trying to find her footing of being on a Bravo show. And that's the problem for me. Jesse is doing it too, though. And that's the problem is he's just way meaner about it. And so this Kristen situation, she's like, well, fuck Janet. If I have to, the lesser of two evils here, maybe I'll go with the greater of two evils because I'll get more screen time.
It is a good choice on Jesse's point because really, if you look at the show, you want the scenes with Kristen, Jax, and Brittany. Like those are the ones that don't get cut because seeing a lot of these flashbacks too in the episode, I'm like, wait, that whole thing with Danny and Jasmine, I wanted that whole scene. I didn't want it in a flashback.
Party?
Like,
come on.
I want it wholly. Yeah. So, and why Kristen Doty is with Jesse, Janet calls and invite Kristen to her birthday party, which to me felt like a producer was like, hey, you got to call her now. You got to do it now.
We gotta get these people all in the same room as much as possible so that we can have a TV show. Last season, the majority of her scenes were walking her dog. So we need you all to make up because eventually we're going to go on the Santa Barbara trip and everyone's invited. So let's at least get the wheels turning. We don't want the initial fight to happen at the big trip we're paying for.
No, and we need to get the girls on one side, really, because if the girls won't come together, it's not happening. You know, the boys are a lot easier. You know, they fight and make up a lot quicker. So then Nia and Kristen go to a acupuncture fertility place and they open up about their infertility and their pregnancy and miscarriage. That acupuncture place was down the street from my house. So that's all I could think about during the scene was like, I know that place. I've been thinking about trying it. But I did find it to be a sweet scene just about their fertility together. And I think they're a clear pairing all season.
Yeah, I think that it's good for Kristen to have someone like Nia because Nia is very empathetic to a lot of people. I hesitate to use a word like empath, but I think she's definitely empathetic.
Maybe more than Kristen Doty.
Maybe. And I think that what really hung me up on this and is that like I wrote this note down when I talked about it on my episode. Like, is Nia that type of Christian? No offense, it's fine to be a Christian, but the type of Christian who thinks like babies live in heaven first and then come, like, are there angels?
Oh, for sure. For sure. She's like LA spiritual Christian.
Yes, that is
you know, like I know the church she and Michelle go to. It's like in Hollywood, it's a mega church, and that it's filled with celebrities.
Is this the is this have like the cool bros with like deep V's and lots of necklaces, pastors? Okay, good.
Yeah, it's that kind of vibe.
Got it.
It's definitely a scene and be seen.
My pastor wears tall tees. I got it. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which makes sense for Nia and Danny because the more I learn about them, there's a keeping up with the Joneses quality to them.
I think you're right. And look, I'm not here to harsh anyone's Christian mellow, but I do find it interesting because I would want to ask them the hard questions that Bravo will never ask them.
They will never. I mean,
it's like how Reality with Allie found out that Michelle's boyfriend is like super MAGA. Like that is like, I wouldn't have guessed that watching this show.
I wouldn't have either, but now it's not as surprising. I do love that account. That is one of my favorite accounts because she really dives deep, and I'm like, oh, like when she kind of broke down Craig's secret MAGA accounts, I was like, she is a journalist, and thank God we have these people.
Because I ain't doing it.
No. So Danny and Nia both pressure Kristen and Luke about marriage, but Luke opens up about his marriage plans. But again, like we were saying, everything's been spoiled for us. We know they get engaged. Yep. We know they get engaged in Hawaii. Like they tell us this. So
you know what I want it to be?
It kind of takes the
Sorry
fun.
to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I love Southern hospitality, and I love that they tried to edit the upcoming on this season that like Joe and Maddie were getting married in Vegas. And it's like, well, no one actually believes that's going to happen. Like, but I want to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
And this is like, oh, well, I do believe Luke is going to propose to Kristen. I guess I'll just watch it happen. And that there's no fun in that.
There's no fun, especially knowing like they're pregnant. Yeah. And so we know that happens, and we know Nia's pregnant and all those things. The engagement could have been a surprise. I wish, like, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, I don't know why, but they barely get leaks. Like, when the whole Monica thing came out and there wasn't a leak about it, I wish the Valley could have that type of secrecy as a cast.
Yeah.
They never will.
Well, and I wonder how much that is them and how much that is producer Jerry, because that guy needs to take a good long look at like the shows he's making.
Yeah, I agree, because I think how much more engaging it would be if we didn't know all these things, because I do think it's great television we're watching.
There's probably some sort of like marketing executive equation, like, well, we're launching a new show. We knew we were going to get a hit because it's this, you know, Vanderpump spinoff and we get to do the backdoor pilot, but then people didn't respond to it as excited as we thought. So what do we do for season 2? And they're just rationalizing things instead of like making a show that like needs to be made. Like Kate said it on my episode, you can't hedge your bets when you're breaking the fourth wall. When Brittany and Jax are fighting and you see Jax yelling at a producer, like, show that producer. You know, I want to see this whole interaction.
Yeah, and I wish, because Brittany hinted at it, but she said it publicly, it was production that forced Jax to go get treatment. And which is almost comical because we're hearing, well, I'm going for my son. No, you're going so you'll stay on TV, because that's really the only thing that matters to Jax.
Yeah, that you're completely right.
So then Danny opens up about the guys' chat and this boys' chat. It sounds disgusting. And then Danny tells Luke that Jesse accused Michelle of being a hooker for a billionaire, but for only $1,500 a night, which I think at least me, as soon as I heard that, I was like, well, that's not true, because if it's a billionaire, it'd be more than $1,500 a night.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the running discussion right now that shouldn't even be a discussion. Like, it's such a dumb thing. And even like Jesse saying later, like, well, I was just trying to suss out the mole. It's like, well, sure, but also you wanted to make sure this got back to Michelle, because not only did you want it to see like her, like that, you wanted to embarrass her, and you also wanted to devalue her in some sort of thing that makes sense to you, which is money. And that's disgusting.
It's so gross. And it's also like, I wish Danny would own, like, yeah, I'm the mole. Like, him being like, I'm not the mole. I wish he would just be like, yeah, I'm the mole. I went and I told Nia everything. And I think he would get more points and seem cooler to me as an audience member. Because right now it just seems like, yeah, I'm telling everyone, but I'm going to not deny it, but deny being the mole, when being the mole is cool.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in this chat, which... Well, on the after show, and we'll talk about it more lately, but hearing Bo was in the chat, I was like, how long has this boys chat been going on? Is this like secret part of Vanderpump that we just weren't getting?
Like, at a certain point, they all just need to get on Discord. You know, like at a certain point, it's too many people for a text thread. Okay. You guys need to collect your thoughts and be big old weirdos somewhere else, because as we know, like, it's not like there's one mole. It's like they're all talking to their partners about what's going on. No woman in this group is surprised to hear anything. Like, they all know it. It's a weird plot point, because not only, even if you get rid of the fact that, like, obviously these guys are like gossiping to their wives and girlfriends, Danny says it on camera to Luke. So it's not even a thing. It's really weird.
And that's how I knew Luke was a great reality star, because he clocked, Danny said it on camera. Therefore, I need to go tell the girls. And I was like, I thought Luke didn't know what he was doing on reality TV, but he clearly does.
He does, but he also is like, I still think Luke thinks he's better than reality TV. He's like, so I'm not going to get caught in
sure.
these games. I'm just going to go directly. It's like, no, man, you're just trying to like, you're playing the game. You're sucked into the game, and you're so good at it because you've now been dating Kristen for a few years that you know how to not be the scapegoat. And that's why you're good.
She taught him well. She really taught him well. And then Jesse says Danny can't control his drinking and talks about how Danny was very handsy and creepy with Jasmine and Melissa. I believe he told Jasmine, get daddy a drink, and then went up and grabbed Melissa's butt. Yeah, what was your reaction to this?
Look, we all love to be called daddy from time to time, right? No, I think this is so... Okay, a couple things. I do agree that, like we talked about earlier, people can make bad decisions, but that doesn't mean that we get to, as like the two bros in this scene, go, oh man, yeah, like when he drinks, like he shouldn't have done that, but he sneaks shots and then he goes over like, don't make excuses for it. He needs to live in the shit that he did, and he needs to apologize. And I know that he did at the white party, and there's some other like misconstrued, thought it was Michelle and then it was actually Melissa. But at the end of the day, my biggest thing, especially as a recovering addict and sober person, is that like, you don't just blame it on the booze. You have to like acknowledge that like you are unhappy or something is making you want to binge drink, and maybe there's a piece of you that you're repressing. It could be any number of depressive, trauma, anything that you're not dealing with that you're masking, that you have to drink that much. I'm no expert. I'm no psychologist. I'm just living through the experience I've had and the meetings I've gone to, right?
Yeah.
And I think you said this in a previous episode of your podcast, like the drinking doesn't make James Kennedy, for example, body slam his girlfriend, right? James Kennedy has that capability, and the alcohol loosened his inhibitions because he does not have anger management control and he will not go to therapy. Now, when it comes to Danny, I can't diagnose him, but what I can see from this show and from what we see online is that this man is stressed, gets very little time to, quote, party, is now in a job where everywhere he goes, he's required to drink, and we know he has no regulation on drinking.
Totally.
And so why does he then become a lecherous asshole? Is this because he has 4 under 4 or whatever it is, and like has this like Christian repressive lifestyle where our only job is to serve Jesus Christ and procreate and make more angel babies, and maybe that's not what he wants to do, and it's coming out in this thing where it's like, well, I actually want to be flirtatious and I actually want to be like this like ladies man type of thing that I think men should be, and then it turns into him being too flirty, too handsy, inappropriate, because he never does that. It's not right. It's not okay.
No, and
I'm on a rant. I'm sorry. I hate it.
No, you're good. Yeah. But I felt like now I was thinking about it. I was like, it feels kind of targeted that he went after the only black woman in the group and the only queer woman in the group and her girlfriend. I just think there might be more to it, the facade of Danny. You know?
And I think that there's, I think in you put in my head there, not you, but like that conversation topic is like, does he not like the aspects of his religion that are darker and that put so many rules on you as a human being? And does this manifest itself in a way where it's like, oh, well, these people are living a more free life? Like, it's very gross. It's very uncomfortable.
There's something to it, though, because it's not like Jack's doing it or Jesse. We would maybe expect it more. There's something of, oh, he's playing this role, but he's maybe not this person. And Jasmine actually on Threads said she's getting a lot of misogyny in her DMs, and people are telling her this is for a storyline, and they think she like saved this. And I'm like, that is insane. And she said this is an ongoing thing throughout the season. So I think there's more to it.
Okay, season 1, we already saw him be a drunk asshole. He didn't get like handsy with anyone. He didn't assault anyone like that, but like he was a drunken asshole. Now we get episode 3 and he's a drunk asshole for something that happened in episode 2. And look, I'm sorry. Even if Jasmine did save it to talk on camera, good. That's your fucking job. Your job is to be on TV.
Someone commented on something earlier today. It was like, why do you love Jasmine? She hasn't said anything. I'm like, well, she hasn't said much this season, but girl's been on reality TV for a long time. I know Jasmine. I love Jasmine. I think she's a great cast member.
Yep.
So then we get to Dave & Buster's in my hometown. We're in the Valley. We're in Northridge. I love that they chose the Northridge location rather than the Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
It's nothing better than a Dave & Buster's in the suburbs. Like when you're going in New York or in Hollywood, it's just not the same.
No.
And I've never seen Janet so happy. She, as soon as they started that scene, she just looked joyful and happy.
You're not wrong. I was getting a vibe of like performance too. This is my party. I need to do this. And I think that's totally fine. And I go, a little bit more into it on my app, but like, I think there's this like piece of Janet that really loves the TV show, The New Girl. And she wants to be Jess from that show. Like, quirky.
I can see that 100%.
And I don't think it's working. And not that like everything has to be calculated. Look, I love a good corn dog too, right? I love Taco Bell. Dave & Buster's is a blast. But there was so much going on here that I was like, look, I believe you. I believe you like it.
I believe you're this Midwestern personality. It kind of reminded me on Beverly Hills this season when they went to Chuck E. Cheese. I was like, cool. Not really why I watch Bravo is to see the Dave & Buster's. But man, it's just her having the best time of her life. And then they kind of dropped the bomb about Jesse accusing Michelle of being a sex worker. So Michelle's not going to have a good time at all.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question about the after show? So first of all, warning to folks, I'm going to use the H word for a second. Brittany fully says hooker on this episode.
I was shocked they didn't say, hey, Brittany.
Yeah. And then
take that again.
In the after show, everyone was saying it. Now, to be fair, this is not like the most egregious word, but it is agreed upon that this is not the nomenclature we use anymore. This is a dated term and is rooted in some negative stereotypes. And it was so surprising to me to hear it once on the show and then over and over and over again in the after show. Wild.
It was wild. And I felt like it kind of gives the same vibe of them not putting any domestic violence warnings on any of that. Like they're not thinking about it because they're like, this show's so crazy that no one's going to call us out.
Yeah. Well, or we want them to. Right. And like all press is good press. And my friend Bill, we were talking about like the extremities of like content warnings and like when like I think they are good. People have suffered massive traumas and it's better to know like, oh, I'm not going to be, I don't want to indulge in this if it's going to bring up some bad things for me. But what happened to the days of like, it used to be even in like the 90s, you would be like, this episode contains scenes of graphic violence. Please, viewer discretion is advised, right? What happened to those things? Like, no one had any problem with that for many, 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 many years. And now it's like you say anything ahead of time, and it might be someone having a comment being like, oh, okay, snowflakes or some bullshit like that. But these episodes need to have that, you know, like especially Jack's
I agree.
Table, you know?
Well, because Bravo doesn't want to label that as domestic violence.
Well, that's a good point.
What it is.
Yeah.
But it is labeling it. So, yeah, they're at David Buster's. They're calling out Danny. They kind of decide that. So they call out Danny. Danny then tells Jesse what's going on. And Jesse's like, you're the mole. You're the mole. And it's like, clearly, dude, like you said that in the chat, so it would come out at this moment. I was watching this episode with non-Bravo watchers, which is my favorite. And they were like, why are they doing this at David Buster's? I don't understand it. Bad timing. I was like, no, this is good timing. They're all together. Like, we're not going to see the scene if this doesn't happen.
Yeah. It's also like all the people who will say what they wish would have happened on Vanderpump Rules. And I was like, you know, that's like boring TV, right? Like,
yeah,
you can either watch someone put up their camera and film themselves making a pot of soup in their home, or you can watch Chopped, right? Like, I want to watch Chopped over a boring YouTube video. And you're right. This happens at Dave & Buster's, a completely empty Dave & Buster's at that. Like, this would have, that's the only problem. This should have been a like Saturday night, kids and adults at Dave & Buster's party.
Sadly, I've been to that Dave & Buster's. It's normally a little empty.
Well, I think Dave & Buster's needs to also improve on their business model. But the Dave & Buster's drone, we all want that. I do think it was ridiculous, and I'm sure you're about to get there, but like the responses to this, like I love though that when Michelle is like, I mean, first of all, valid emotions from Michelle. Very upsetting, whether or not she knew about this ahead of time or anything. Now it's on camera. There's something 6 inches from your face being like, hey, look, it's on camera. You're being filmed, being called potentially a sex worker and cheating on your husband. That hits different than like someone telling you a rumor when cameras are off.
And she's grieving her mom too at this time. I think that's another element. Her mom had just died.
Yeah. Did not know that. Very much puts a lot more into context here.
Yeah.
But I do love that Jason, who definitely seems to think in only black and white terms, but I think he's right when he says like, well, that's the thing about libel and slander. Like, if it's not true, then you have nothing to worry about. Easier said than done. But like, that is something I think everyone on these shows needs to think about when someone says a lie about them.
You know, I think I just realized when you were like, you like Janet, I think it's I love Jason so much.
Hey, that's fair. And you know what? Because guess what? You're allowed to like Janet. I'm not saying
I do like Janet, but I also hate her. But then I like her, but then I hate her. And then
I got to tell you, I kind of feel the same about Jesse. I think he's a trash bag human being. I think he's a terrible, terrible man, but he knows how to turn the gears for reality TV, and that's
why he's more likable right now, because people hate Michelle so much.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Like,
people I see so anytime I post anything positive about Michelle, I get flooded, like people being like, you're wrong, she's awful. That's at least what I get. And I think Jesse's more
like Michelle either, but I could never imagine being like, look, she's on TV because she was married to this psycho, right? Like, and they wanted to have a couple.
I think Michelle just she doesn't seem to be as aware of the game of reality TV. And
yes, 100%. Yes. And that's why he's more entertaining on the show than Michelle.
because he's creating an alliance, like, because then later Michelle decides that she's mad about this whole thing and they need to vote Jesse out of the house for the trip he's planning. And Kristen's just like, no, absolutely not.
Even if I wasn't aligned with him, if he wasn't in like my core 4 right now, like, he's paying for it. Like, I'm not going to be the person that's like, oh, you can't stay at the thing you're shelling out the money for ostensibly. Like, he's probably not actually paying for this, but if we're playing by the rules here, if it's his place, sorry, like, you're the only one that doesn't want to like be there. Like, that, I was on you
with Jasmine and Michelle being like, no, like, we're not necessarily on his side, but no. And then Michelle says in her confessional that Jesse is worse than Jax, which I felt like that was a stab to Brittany. I was like, Brittany is sticking up for you, girl. Do not stab her that way.
Jesse is bad, but we do not need to compare him to anyone else on the show because he's doing a good job of digging his own grave. And this is the same sort of thing with Brittany. Like, Michelle, you can't play Jesse's game. If Jesse's going to nitpick every little thing going through with the divorce paperwork, you have to be the bigger person that then doesn't say, I want 6 of the forks and you get 3 of the forks in the silverware set.
The finances of it, like, that was insane to me, them fighting over the money. And then we'll just kind of go into the after show, because during the after show, she said that he spent all their money and then wants money back for their wedding, which to me, that's insane to be like, hey, 10 years later, you actually need to help pay for that wedding.
Yeah, it is. It's ridiculous. And now look, I've never been married. I've never been divorced, if you can believe it. And I really think at a certain point, if you're going back and forth with someone on semantics of your separation, it ends up probably being cheaper to just go to court then, right? Like,
that's what I was thinking for her.
And maybe I'm wrong, but like, at a certain point, cut the bullshit and get the stress out of your life. It might be worth it to have a few annoying days in court and pay for the reduced stress, you know? It's like having the conversation with someone you don't want to have. Like, it's actually worse to not have it because you just keep thinking about it. You know?
Keep prolonging it.
Yeah.
I was surprised to hear in the after show, though, that house, I always thought they owned that house behind Chateau Marmont. They're renting it.
Yeah.
And they really brought up how Jesse's living beyond his means. And I think because most Bravo watchers watch Housewives, where they live beyond their means, but they actually are a little bit kind of rich, you know? Yeah. They're rich poor.
Yeah.
But the people in the Valley, I mean, besides Brittany, Jax, Kristen, they're not as well off as we think they are.
Oh, and I mean, they've all been, even Brittany, Jax, Kristen, terrible with money, right? Like,
terrible.
Look at, I mean, Sheena. She's now seems to be doing okay with her finances, but was terrible for a while. And the thing is that, especially in the after show, Lala's a polarizing figure. I did not like that Lala's like, and look, he's renting, so you can tell that he doesn't know how to handle his money. And I think this day and age, like, if you don't own a house and you're older, that doesn't mean you're terrible with money, because there's plenty of ways to invest money and get a return and like be financially secure. I'm not saying Jesse necessarily is, but like, while also renting a house in California, because guess what? If there's an earthquake, if your water heater blows, if you get termites, if you get anything that could really set you back.
If your town sets on fire,
yes,
and if that might happen.
Yeah. Like, that is trouble, especially with insurance. And I hate to be like Mr. Home Financial guy, but like they're renting a house in LA, renting a house anywhere is not the worst thing in the world because it saves you money on where you could be putting it into somewhere else.
Totally.
It just goes to show Lala doesn't know what the hell she's talking about most of the time.
No, she has no idea. She has no idea. Another thing I found on the after show that was interesting. So they were talking about the incident with Jasmine and Danny. Brock was there when it happened. And he put Danny in a headlock. And I was like, I would love to see that. Just, you know, I don't need to hear what Brock has to say about everything. Like, I don't need him on the after show. But I would just like the side of it, of him taking Danny, putting him in a headlock.
Why wasn't that in any episode, right? That seems like the perfect thing to put in an episode. Why?
I'm ready for Sheena and Brock, honestly, on the Valley. Like, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing them pop up.
Well, and my thought is like, do it or don't do it. Why are we getting to be 3 to 4 episodes into this show and we're not getting these people that were like teased to us to be a part of it? Like, give me a break.
We've seen Schwartz.
Yeah, we saw Schwartz. We saw Sheena in a flashback.
But
yeah, no,
we deserve more. I want more of Sheena Shea because she knows everything about everyone. She's a perfect cast member.
Yep.
The last thing I kind of wanted to talk about from the after show was, so Jack said he didn't want to disrupt Brittany's life. And I just found that so fascinating, seeing how he refused to leave and his autistic child had to move into rental after rental. And then Schwartz saying, well, clearly, Jax, everyone knew you were on cocaine.
Yeah. Blow, I think is what he says too.
Yes, like, they did say blow, which I found so funny.
Yeah, I mean, damn, took me back. The thing that I think we always need to remember about Jax is that he's very stupid. And the fact is that like a lot of times Jax would say something and it's like, yeah, I think you do want that. I think that you really didn't want to disrupt Brittany's life. But when you hit any thing that made your life harder, that went totally out the window. Like if you hit one road, wouldn't it be perfect if you didn't have to disrupt Cruz and Brittany's life? Yeah, that would be perfect. But the choices you made, Jax, disrupted Brittany and Cruz's life. So you can't have your cake and eat it too here. These are the things that all of these people like to say. It's like, well, I didn't want to do that. And it's like, yeah, but you did. But
you did, and it's affecting your kid.
Intentions don't matter. Like your actions do. Like, so sorry that you once had a thought that like you wanted to be a good father. Your actions are showing that you're not being a good father. So there's only one way to course correct that. And that's by actually doing the thing, not thinking about the thing.
Yeah. But yeah, wow. The after show is just, you're right. It's a whole nother thing. It's a whole nother episode. And it's informing, but kind of also, it's a separate show. Mm-hmm. And I think Bravo in the future, they need to find a way to quicken the editing system because too much is happening in between the seasons.
Well, Valley in particular, I think that, and this is just my fan theory, I think that some really bad stuff happened, especially with Jax flipping the table. And if that's what they're having in the edit, like what happened outside of the edit that we're not getting? And I think that this is why it took so long. I think there's a lot of time crunching happening on this.
Probably a lot of lawyers watching.
A lot of lawyers. And I think that they are continuing to edit these episodes up until the last possible minute. Some people are getting screeners. This is the first year I ever got screeners for any sort of Bravo shows. And when I followed up about Valley weekly screeners, they're like, we're only giving these to a very few outlets. And I was like, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
The people that are going to praise it, essentially.
Yeah, no one that's going to be critical whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, this was a great episode. Rob, you have some upcoming shows coming up. What are the dates and everything? Where can people get tickets?
Yeah, I have a show with my friends Meredith Lynch and Molly McAleer coming up. It's called Friends Only, and you can get tickets at friendsonly.live. The first show is May 8th in Los Angeles. The next show is June 25th in Boston. Our guest for the May 8th show is Talk of Shame herself, Kiki Monique. And I cannot announce our guests for Boston yet, but I will promise you that you will all be very excited. It's going to be a great show. I'm really looking forward to it. I think Molly and Meredith are some of the smartest and most quick-witted people I've ever done live events with or guested on podcasts with. And I'm really looking forward. Last year, Molly and I did like a makeshift, can we do a live show at like an improv theater? And it was so bare bones, not much to it. And we still had so many people come out and had such a blast that like, I'm really looking forward to Friends Only. And I want to do Friends Only, once a month for as long as possible.
Yeah, you guys have a great lineup. Like, I'm so excited for it. And your podcast as well, Vanderpump Robs, you're on Patreon and anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. The podcast, patreon.com/Vanderpump Robs, that's with an S. It's like Vanderpump Rules, but with my name. And then, you can listen to public episodes, but I have extended episodes and bonus content all ad-free on the Patreon.
Ooh. Well, thanks for tuning in, you guys, and we'll see you next week.